people, it's me, Anja. My pronouns are she and her, and welcome back to my channel for a new recent reads video. The first book on this list is called Blood Scion. This book is a YA fantasy inspired by African mythology, if I'm not mistaken, and it's absolutely so good. It follows a young girl who's a blood Scion, and basically her identity means her death, because the country's brutal army is designed to hunt her kind, and when she is conscripted into this brutal army, she's determined to break it from within, if that makes any sense, because she's taught in that army to hunt her kind, and obviously she doesn't want to do that, you know what I mean? So anyway, basically this book is so good. I ended up rating it 4 stars because it was so engaging. It was absolutely so well done. Also, I apologize in advance if you can hear birds squeaking in the background or whatever. Can't ignore them. Can't do anything about them. So anyway, basically, this book is so good. The world building was so amazing, and it was absolutely so engaging, and it was so well written. The writing is absolutely so good, and it was absolutely so interesting. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. The plot was so fast paced, and it was absolutely so engaging. I've said the word engaging literally too many times. But anyway, this book is so good, and I'm so excited to read the sequel. So with that, I rated this book 4 stars, and I would highly, highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called The Best Liars in Riverview. This book is a middle-aged contemporary following a young person who's navigating their gender identity as their best friend goes missing. This book is so good, and it's absolutely so well done. First of all, the writing is so lyrical, and it's so well done. Second of all, the plot was so engaging, and it was absolutely so intriguing. Third of all, the characters are so well developed and so distinct. The friendship between the main character and their best friend was so well developed, and it was absolutely so wonderful, and it was so good. The queer and transgender representation in this book was so authentic, and it was so awesome, and I really, really enjoyed it. I love stories about main characters navigating their gender identity or their sexuality or something like that, because I think that it's so authentic and it's so necessary, and it's absolutely so timely, and this book did it so well. The friendships were so wholesome, the main characters were so well developed and so distinct. This book is absolutely so amazing, and it's so underrated, and it deserves so much more hype. So anyway, with all of that said, I rated this book 4 stars, and I would highly, highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Those Kids from Fawn Creek. This book is another middle-aged contemporary that follows a group of kids in a town where everything is the same every single day until a new girl comes to town and shakes everything up. I really, really enjoyed this book, and I ended up rating it 4 stars. First of all the different character perspectives really helped bring the characters to life so well, and each one of them, regardless of how much screen time they had, was distinct and well developed, and I really, really appreciated that. The plot in itself was also so engaging and absolutely so intriguing. This story was so whimsical, and it was so wholesome, and the friendships were so well developed and so authentic, and I really, really enjoy stories where a main character challenges the status quo, whether or not that's intentional or not. You know what I mean? This book is so good because it's so whimsical, and it was absolutely so wholesome, and it was also so emotional because I was so emotionally connected to the characters and the plot and the story and basically everything about it, so we love to see it. Anyway, with that said, I rated this book 4 stars, and I would highly, highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called You Truly Assumed. This book is a YA contemporary following 3 black Muslim girls who are connected through a blog that goes viral after a terrorist attack. I thought this book was good, but it wasn't great, so unfortunately I think this book is overrated. Because frankly, the characters themselves didn't really feel distinct to me at all, and it kind of felt like I was reading the same story from one perspective instead of 3 distinct perspectives, if that makes any sense. Each of the characters felt like they were the same person. So even though I understand why the story is very timely and very important, and I definitely understand why the story resonates with so many people, especially the Black and Muslim communities. I didn't really like it that much because I wasn't really emotionally connected to the characters or anything like that, and I also felt like the ending wrapped up too fast. So even though like the plot was intriguing, and I don't regret reading this book by any means, I did rate it 3 stars, and I don't necessarily love it, and I don't know if I would read any books in the future by this author again, if that makes any sense. So basically, with all that said, I rated this book 3 stars. I understand why it's like important and timely and everything, so like I do recommend it because I understand why people love it objectively, but for me it wasn't really my cup of tea, if that makes any sense. So yeah, with all that said, I do recommend this book, but I don't by any means like highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Kiss and Tell. This book is a YA contemporary, and it follows a young person who's queer and who's a member of like this really famous boy band, and he's navigating his first heartbreak, his first new romance after said heartbreak, and what it means to be queer in the spotlight. So this book, if you didn't know, was one of my most anticipated 2022 new releases because it's written by the same author of the Darius the Great duology, and I rated the first book of that duology 4 stars and the second book 4.5 stars. So naturally I had very, very high expectations for this book. This book absolutely not only met my high expectations, but exceeded them because I rated this book 5 stars because I really, really enjoyed it. I was so hooked by the story from the very beginning to the end because the story and the plot were so engaging and absolutely so intriguing. Like the main character, Hunter, I was so emotionally attached to him from the very beginning to the end, and towards the end, this story made me cry. So I changed my rating from a 4-star rating to a 5-star rating. Like there's nothing that I would change about the story because it was absolutely so fantastic, and it was so well done, and it's so well developed. This story is so good. The characters, the boy band friendship, the romance, like this story is so well done, and it was so well developed. Like I didn't really imagine that this book could be any better than Darius the Great because Darius the Great is so good, but it absolutely was. You know what I mean? So anyway, with all that said, I rated this book 5 stars, and clearly I would highly, highly recommend it. The last book on this list, and certainly not the least, is called Erin Outside the Lines. This book is a middle-grade contemporary following a young, autistic, non-binary, sapphic main character as they're navigating new friendships, changing horizons, and a school trip. This book was also one of my most anticipated 2022 new releases because the author previously wrote Anna on the Edge, which was one of my favorite books of 2020, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe 2021. I don't exactly remember. But anyway, I rated this book 4 stars because I really, really enjoyed it. The autistic representation, first of all, hit home way too close. It hit way too close to home, is what I mean. I'm autistic too, by the way, so we love to see it. Second of all, the queer representation was so wonderful. It was absolutely so lovely, and again, it felt so authentic, and we love to see it. The plot was so intriguing, and it was absolutely so engaging. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. The friendships were so wholesome and absolutely so lovely. This book is so good, and it's so well done. Like I mentioned, I rated this book 4 stars because I really, really enjoyed it. So with all of that said, I would highly, highly recommend this book. So, in conclusion, my favorite book on this list was definitely Kiss and Tell, and my least favorite book on this list was definitely You Truly Assumed. But like I mentioned in that review, I do still recommend it. I just don't highly, highly recommend it the way that I highly, highly recommend all the other books on this list. So anyway, with all of that said, March has been a pretty solid reading month, and we love to see it. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the unicorn emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!